Everyone talks about how different life is since the internet and iPhones, but no one talks about how much better life is since banning indoor public smoking. There must be billions of hours of cell phone concert videos that no one has ever watched. People are impressed by the uniqueness of snowflakes, but potatoes are equally unique and no one cares. To not expose his identity, Batman is either driving the Batmobile uninsured or is committing insurance fraud. Since spaceships aren't available to everyone yet, the golden age of piracy hasn't happened. People who overthink often assume everyone is as smart as they are. Everyone in Matrix is technically a virgin. We're very fortunate that the muscles in our hearts don't get tired the same way the rest of our muscles do. As the internet becomes an older and older invention, there'll be a point where there is more dead people input than living people's input. Openly saying you're 5 feet 11 inches is an actual green flag. The wife in The Truman Show was essentially a highly compensated, upscale prostitute. Stepsister Orn is everywhere, but you never see any adopted sister Orn. The increased popularity and acceptance of tattoos is definitely making it easier for cops to ID people. You either come to realize what an idiot you used to be, or you remain as that idiot. Therapists and counselors know so many lonely people, all located in the same area, but can't introduce those lonely people to one another without violating patient confidentiality rules. Cyclops' real superpower is his eyelids. They keep the lasers from going through humans. It can often be more tiring to pretend to work than to work. Video games really downplay how tough it is to crouch walk. The people who are out and about strolling in the city on weekday mornings without having to worry about work have won the game of life in our capitalist society. With the amount of faceless nudes in the internet, it's highly likely many people have seen their relatives nude without noticing it. The machinery of our body, moving, breathing, thinking, food processing, cooling, is exceptionally quiet for its capabilities. We usually think of dumb people not understanding smart people, but smart people also don't understand dumb people. We've technically managed to make Mars heavier. Due to internet Orn, the average guy has seen more dicks than the average girl. The older you get, the longer Monopoly games last because all players become more fiscally responsible. Everyone is against bullying, but they also routinely make fun of people online that they disagree with. A nose that gets longer when you lie seems like a really fantastical concept as a kid, until you learn about how an erection works. Taste in music really isn't as important a character trait as we made it out to be as teenagers. Grass has an interesting existence where it is forever encouraged to grow. But when it grows too much, it gets cut down, and if it grows in the wrong place, it gets straight up murdered. There's a very real possibility that law enforcement and intelligence services might use deepfake technology to make it appear that members of a criminal organization are confessing or placing blame on the interrogated, thus placing urgency on and extracting real confessions from other members. It's crazy how we were able to map out the entire world in detail before ever seeing it from afar in space. After the Titanic completely rusts away, there will definitely be conspiracy theories that it never really existed. Scholastic book fairs were the Catalina-ucking wine mixer of elementary school socials. Socks and shoes are kind of like carpet and floor, just attached to your feet instead of the ground. Hating on all of humanity is considered more acceptable than hating on a certain community, which is a subset of humanity. No wonder we view the past in rose tint. It's a natural effect of redshift, since it's moving further and further away from us. People who feel the need to point out your morning mood are often the cause of it. Buffy the Vampire Slayer fell in love with 2 vampires, making her terrible at her job. Not knowing how to use a computer is quickly becoming as big of an impediment as being illiterate once was. One day, creating custom Orn with AI will be norm. Shaving technology has advanced significantly in recent decades, but you don't get a better shave. In a million years, history classes are going to be really hard. Baking in space, low gravity must produce the fluffiest baked goods possible. There are countless fountains around the world of males urinating, but you'll be hard-pressed to find a female one. The survival rate of human babies is shockingly impressive considering how fragile they are and how many terrible parents exist. India is the only place that naturally has lions, tigers, and bears. Gaming is the only hobby where people spend thousands of hours in a game and still complain about how terrible it is. It's a shame that if a negative person meets another negative person, they don't become positive together. The bread slicer is never celebrated, only the bread it's sliced. When children have imaginary friends, it's seen as cute. But when adults do, it's seen as a disorder. There must be a set number of videos someone has to make before it's no longer considered amateur Orn. It's weird how 71% of the earth is water and humans don't have any distinct body part specially for swimming. It isn't uncommon for villains in TV shows and movies to have horns, even though horns are almost exclusively used by prey animals. ChatGPT confidently presenting false information as true and making up statistics is its most human trait yet. Hanging out with your parents is third wheeling. 99.99% of animals will never have a single hot meal, while humans have evolved to the point of complaining to other humans if their meal isn't the correct temperature. An interesting side effect of the gender-neutral pronoun debate was showing how many people don't even know what a pronoun is. And it's a lot of people. It's socially acceptable to mention a boy's changes from puberty in front of him, but not a girl's. All of the Neanderthals were uncircumcised. Every civilization found out that putting meat inside a little dough packet is delicious independently. Some people enjoy sleeping in, not because they like to sleep, but because they like to not be awake. Pooping your pants is an experience that is unique to the human species. As we grow older, our phone's contact lists become graveyard of contact infos of friends and family from the past that have grown apart from us. Hookup culture actually helps a lot of people clean their bedrooms. There's a generation of people who enjoyed watching the word DVD bounce slowly across the screen. Wireless charging actually limit your device's portability more than wired charging. Life has no actual rules. Lead, mercury, and other heavy metal poisoning would be a big problem for long-lived elves, due to bioaccumulation. 98% of the things we see or read about on the news actually doesn't matter for our daily lives. Put ice in milk and you're weird, but add coffee and it's normal again. Coffee and milk, normal. Ice and coffee, normal. It's just ice and milk that's weird. Blue and yellow make green, and sunlight and water makes plants. Gen Z will eventually be nostalgic for the sound of cars starting. The 1st of April, 1/4, is also 1/4 of the way into the year. Smartass and dumbass are both insults, but badass is somehow a compliment. With so many people scattering the ashes of dead relatives in bodies of water, there is a high probability that you were in close contact with human remains at least once. Us humans are a whole lot more symmetrical on the outside than on the inside. Countless people over millennia must have sacrificed their stomachs or even their lives to find food we can safely digest. Your baby teeth are out there somewhere. Jumping is much more useful in video games than it is in real life. The greatest generation had an 8th grade education. When going upstairs, we randomly switch to running because we want to maintain our horizontal speed. Cooking is far more essential skill than driving, yet we tend to be more surprised when a grown adult is unable to drive rather than unable to cook. We expect humans to live on Mars in the near future, yet we haven't even dared to inhabit Antarctica. With an IQ of 130, you are the dumbest gifted person. When a killer is chasing you, you are both running for your life. No one has ever discovered an animal with the perfect camouflage. Technically, every house is a homeless shelter. Wonder Woman must hear a lot of sexual stuff whenever she uses the lasso of truth. Adults that act like children a majority of their life result in their children having to act like adults for a majority of theirs. There's no good reason why socks need to be matched. We are more willing to save people from death than willing to save them from suffering. Spider-Man, at some point, must have tried to talk to spiders, only for him not to be able to. In deep space, you will not be able to see spaceships the way you do in movies or series because they are not near any light source. An honest enemy is better than a deceitful friend. It's more acceptable to wear 0 shoes than 1 shoe. Smart TVs won't be smart until they increase volume when crunchy food is detected. In most parts of the world, it's more normal for a woman to wear men's clothing than a man to wear women's clothing. Imitation crab is seafood hot dogs. For some reason, society is convinced that we are designed to experience true happiness, just it's difficult to attain. In reality, however, never being content is an evolutionary advantage. Cars record how far they've traveled but not how long they've idled for, both affect the engine. We spend our whole lives collecting a lifetime of experiences. When we finish, we immediately die. Given how sticky Spider-Man's webs are, that pizza slice must have been really gross and justifiably unpaid for. People who live alone have a higher chance of choking to death. Older generations like to use seemingly unnecessary warning labels on products as an example of how much dumber the younger generations are, but most of those warnings are a result of the stupid things they themselves did as kids, that had to be remedied with warning labels afterward. The person who came up with marriage must have been real clingy. You will never see your death certificate. One of the signs a pet isn't doing well is when they stop grooming themselves. One of the signs a person isn't doing well is when they struggle with self-care. Oddly, no matter how scientifically advanced the universe is in sci-fi, there's always someone wearing prescription glasses. Living as a whale in the ocean for 40 years sounds really boring. Beating a dead horse is a lot more humane than beating a live one. There's a chance many of us dodge death without realizing when we chose to do one thing instead of another. It is far more common to look like you peed your pants than having actually peed your pants. You are constantly tasting your teeth. Homicides in the Matrix must be really annoying for the machines who are using humans as their batteries. We really take it for granted that we don't have to worry about predators. The invention of the golf cart turned out to be more popular than the sport of golf itself.